Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Indianapolis Colts QB battle is more like a pillow fight. Also, we tell you which quarterback to select for your fantasy team and which ringless star signal caller is best positioned to win a Super Bowl. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
In a move I've not ever seen before, I don't think, the Indianapolis Colts put out their first unofficial depth chart, and on the first line under quarterback listed both Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Jake Arthur is part of the Indianapolis Colts traveling circus for the joint practices with the Baltimore Ravens. He is one of our Locked On Colts hosts, and he joins me now. Jake, I joke about the traveling circus thing, but like this is weird, and I don't know what to make of it. What do you make of it?
You nailed it. It's weird. No, but they'll figure it out at some point. But I mean, this is old hat. You know, you either don't know who the quarterback is. If you follow the Colts, you either don't know who the quarterback's going to be, or the vibes are iffy. You know, I think it's still pretty much neck and neck. Daniel Jones has performed, like, I think he's just been solid. Like, he's given you what you expect from him throughout camp. Has had a couple rough days and then a couple days that were better than others. But like overall, he looks like a guy who's going to take what the defense gives you. He tests things downfield a little more than I expected, but overall, he kind of reels you back to what the Colts had in Gardner Minshew in 2023 a little bit. Anthony, I think, looks better than he had before. Number one, like physique-wise, he looks like he's in awesome shape. Definitely looks like he's trimmed down a little bit. Looks a lot more like his rookie version. But he's doing all the small things right. You know, there's no wasted moments during practice. You know, he's always getting in, you know, the mental reps and everything. But as far as like what the actual play on the field looks like, I mean, I'm encouraged. It didn't look like the disaster that was last season. You know,
well, that's good.
I think especially in the last week or so, he's had more highs than lows. Although he apparently is not a Saturday guy. The 2 Saturday practices they've had were horrendous. But other than that, like, he's been really, really good. So as long as they can steer clear of like any Saturday matchups, I think they'll be all right.
Well, they do have, I mentioned, the joint practices this week with the Ravens. They have a game on Thursday night. If, as you mentioned, you said it's pretty close here, neck and neck. If it's neck and neck through August, isn't it Anthony Richardson's job? Like, isn't that how they have to handle this, especially with your reputation, your job on the line if you're the front office?
Yeah, I think so. Because if it's neck and neck, are you going to go with the guy who Daniel Jones? You're not going to win games because of him. You might lose some games because he didn't give you enough. But Anthony, you probably will lose some games because of him. But he has proven time and time again that he can put a team on his back in the fourth quarter. There are games that he will help will them to win. And if it's dead even, I think you got to go with the guy who gives you much more upside. Not to mention, I think it's very clear everyone seems on the hot seat. Like it would not make sense if you guaranteed Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen's job security beyond this year. So if those two get the opportunity to, you know, get the ship put in the right direction, why shouldn't Anthony as well? Because he's just as much responsible as those two for why they're in the place that they're in now. So, I mean, dance with who brung in and give him a chance to kind of get it moving in the right direction as well. I mean, I understand the skepticism on their part if they get into next year or they get into the season and it looks like it did last year. But I think the behind the scenes stuff is also much different as well. Like the fire they hoped to light under him, as far as work ethic and stuff goes, that's all been great. So if his play on the field is suffering, I don't think it's going to be for a lack of effort.
They also made some efforts to improve this defense, which can help a young quarterback. If he doesn't have to do everything, if he doesn't have to put the team on his back, that might, take enough pressure off of him that he can make hey, this check down on first down, I don't have to feel like I have to throw a heat-seeking missile 40 yards down the field, which we know he can do. They added JT Tuimoloau, Charvarius Ward, and Cam Bynum in free agency. Like they put real investments into this defense.
Yeah, and those guys have all looked pretty good so far throughout camp. Now, defenses always have the advantage, at least within the first half of training camps. But all of the Colts' good defensive players have looked like good defensive players so far. And if the defense looks good, I don't think it's by accident. I think it's because they've invested in quality players like Charvarius Ward. Now he's got some leg tightness, which has been very general. So he's missed the last, few practices. They say he's going to be good for this week. But he has looked awesome, like a lockdown corner so far throughout camp. Cam Bynum has come up with a bunch of pass breakups. Laiatu Latu has really heated up in the last week, and he's going to be critical. If that defense is going to work at all, it's going to be really reliant on the pass rush, particularly him becoming that like double-digit sack guy. And then Tuimoloau, you could make an argument that he's been the second or third best edge rusher in camp. We'll see what that means because there's a lot of mouths to feed, and he's going to be a part of a big rotation. But he looks pretty decent so far. We'll see what it looks like in this joint practice and the game. I know Lou Anarumo kind of referenced that. We asked him several questions the other day, and I think he very, very kindly just wanted to say, hey, none of this matters until we see them in these games. So that's where their evaluation process sits.
You can stay up to date all year on the Indianapolis Colts by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Colts on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up, who shouldn't be and who should be your QB1 for fantasy football. Before we get to that, the Browns have added another quarterback. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. If you didn't think the Cleveland Browns quarterback room was wild enough already, Cleveland went out and added another.
If you thought the Browns quarterback competition couldn't get any crazier, well, they added another quarterback to the roster, Tyler Huntley, joining the fold. He spent time with the Browns, obviously, last year, so has some familiarity with the Browns organization. Some of what Kevin Stefanski wants to do, granted, they ran a different offense last year, but there's two big reasons why you make this move if you're the Browns. Two things that could either one of them be in play, both of them be in play. And the first thing is you're looking for another body for Friday night's preseason game to eat some reps, play some time, get out there and take some quarters off the clock here for the team come Friday, especially with two players dealing with injuries. And that's the second thing. If something is going to linger into Friday, if Kenny Pickett isn't going to be able to play, for example, if Dylan Gabriel's hamstring injury that Kevin Stefanski shared with us today is more serious than initially suspected, that's why you bring in Tyler Huntley. So there's two things sort of in play here. I'll try to get a better sense of what angle or which one of those is more the answer as to why Tyler Huntley's joining this roster. But I got 5 quarterbacks on this roster heading into Friday's preseason game. I guess really 6 if you count Deshaun Watson. It's never a dull moment here in Cleveland with the Browns.
Over on the diamond, the Mets dropped 1 in extras to the Guardians.
It was a night of almosts for the New York Mets. A 5-run deficit erased to force extra innings, but in the 9th inning, almost a walk-off win. The Mets loaded the bases with 1 out. Pete Alonso strikeout. Jeff McNeil lined out, missed chance there. Sean Manaea almost had a vintage Sean Manaea start from 2024. The first 5 innings, excellent. The quality and length that the Mets have been looking for from their starters, but a 5-run 6th inning by the Guardians set in motion a chaotic chain of events that we saw transpire. After an extra innings, a Brett Beatty miscue allows the Guardians to play 2 runs without getting a hit. The Mets are only able to respond with 1 in the bottom part, and they're left with a heartbreaking loss. If the Mets want to win the NL East, they want to go far, repeat going back to the NLCS, go to the World Series, win a championship, they're going to have to start turning those almosts into certainties.
The Brewers won again. Shocker.
It is just unbelievable what these guys continue to do. After sweeping Washington, they go into Atlanta, and Quinn Priester does it again. Hey, everybody, Chuck Freeman, instant reaction, Locked On Brewers. Gave up a leadoff home run, ends up sticking around for 7 innings, allows just 2 hits. Uribe and McGill finish up. Yeah, and the Brewers were down 1-0. Ike Collins, the Rookie of the Year in the National League, delivers a 3-run blast, puts Milwaukee ahead to stay. Yeah, limited offense for the Brewers tonight. Didn't matter. They got the win. That's what good teams do. And the Brewers continue to churn out victories. Talk about all of this coming up a little bit later on tonight on the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
It might be a little tough picking a fantasy football quarterback this season. Locked On Fantasy Football host Michelle Majuk and Vinny Iyer break down who you should take for your squad.
Now, if you're taking Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Shaden Daniels, they all have huge upside. You really can't go wrong with those guys. So let's go a little bit deeper here. And let's say you miss out on those top guys. You're waiting for the 5th or 6th round, and you're eyeing either Baker Mayfield or Patrick Mahomes. They're both sitting there. Mahomes right now is going as the quarterback 6 off the board on average, while Mayfield's going as quarterback 7. A good 10 picks after Mahomes, actually. But if you're eyeing a quarterback in this range, which way would you lean, Vinny? The numbers last year were drastically different with Mayfield well outscoring him.
Yeah, I think you have to side with Baker Mayfield. Right now, you feel a little bit more confident about his weapons. Plus, you can get another player in between almost, right? With 10 picks in between, you can address another position, come back to Mayfield. I don't think Mahomes gives you that advantage that you're looking for over Mayfield, the difference enough if he would be finishing ahead of him. And that's nowhere near a guarantee. I mean, he finished well behind him last year. And then you look at the weapons. I mean, yeah, altogether they look kind of intriguing, right? With Xavier Worthy in year 2, Rashee Rice in year 3. Just looking at the combination, okay, he's got the best receivers he's had in quite some time overall, but Marquise Brown is hurting again. You have some concerns about how Travis Kelce is pointing upward. But then you look at Baker Mayfield. The biggest loss he suffered was definitely Liam Cohen leaving, but he was productive before that with Dave Canales. Looks like he's a guy that can handle different systems, but just as important, he's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin now. The rookie Emeka Egbuka looks pretty good. Got Jalen McMillan as another weapon. He trusts K-Dot in certain situations as well. So he seems pretty loaded and steady, and there's less variables around him, I think, in general, where this Bucs offense should keep rolling and putting up some points. It does also prey on some really bad teams. I mean, if you look at all 3 defenses in that division are rather suspect. I know you're not going to get one of those games in Week 18, but still that's 5 games that are in play against the rest of that division. But Mahomes is facing some tough teams. You look at the Chargers, the Broncos. Those are 2 really tough, maybe defenses to navigate here, especially the Broncos. And then you worry about, okay, are the Raiders going to be a little bit better on that end? Or are the Chiefs going to be in a lot of games where Mahomes is going to put up a lot of points? I don't see that necessarily. I think, again, the load management, it's hard to load manage your quarterback. He's got to start every game, but he's playing deep into the playoffs every year. He's got to be careful of not wearing down his arm and saving his best for last, which he's done here. So he kind of gets the game right now, right? Tom Brady's gone through this too as well. Once he started winning and going deep in the playoffs consistently, he didn't worry too much about the regular season numbers. He was just worried about executing when it comes to playoffs, and they've got it done whether they've started on the road or the number 1 seed. So I don't think the Chiefs care much about Mahomes putting up those big numbers in the playoffs, and he has been kind of contained as a downfield passer, where I don't think they do that as much with Baker Mayfield, right? Everyone's so afraid of Mahomes that they're creating some coverage where he can't beat you deep and kind of negating some of his deep ball action, where I don't do that as much with Mayfield. So, again, the variables that have been a little different from last season, they all favor Mayfield over Mahomes to keep that advantage this season, and he's going after him, so that says for sure Mayfield is the better pick.
Yeah, I mean Mayfield, you can't expect him to throw 41 touchdowns again, but I still think he's going to throw much more than Mahomes, because Mahomes, the Chiefs don't need that out of him in the regular season right now. Their defense is so good. They want to just take it slowly, like you said with him. And it's been two straight. It's not just last year that was a down year for Mahomes in fantasy. It's been 2 straight years where he has just not been a good fantasy asset. He was a quarterback 12 overall last year, quarterback 14 on average in 2023. Yeah, I mean, from 2018 really through 2022, he was fantastic. But we just haven't seen that huge upside from him for a while now. And even on a week-to-week basis, he's kind of killing you. And you start him every week because his name is Patrick Mahomes. And that's why he's still going in the 5th round in drafts, because everyone knows his potential and he's the best quarterback in the league. But it's just not equating to fantasy points. He has scored 15 or fewer points in nearly 50% of his games over the last 2 years, and 15 of 32 games played. 17 or fewer points in 66% of games played. And he only has 1 game with over 30 points over the last 2 years. And that came all the way in week 7, 2023. So over these last 2 years, he is the quarterback 12 in average scoring. Like, he's averaging fewer points per game than Kyler Murray over the last 2 years, who we're not even liking him, and he's going much later than Mahomes, and we still don't like that draft cost. So we've been out on Mahomes at his cost, and Baker, yeah, he's risky. He's definitely risky to take this high. That was his first really great fantasy season. And of course, like, touchdown regression can come, but he's still on such a good team with a bad defense. So I'm still easily leaning the Baker Mayfield side.
Stay up to date all year on fantasy football by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Fantasy Football on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, is Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson in a better position to win their first ring? Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, are still searching for their first ring. Locked On NFL host Tyler Ronan and Kevin Ostreicher explained who they believe is better positioned to snag their first Super Bowl victory this season.
And that's true, but it hasn't quite happened in the playoffs. So I feel like when we're looking at this, it's like, are we betting on Lamar Jackson to finally play his best version of his self? That version of football, are we betting on that to finally happen in the playoffs? Or are we going to bet that the rest of the Buffalo Bills actually step up, and that defense that Buffalo is really relied on, that Sean McDermott is known for, are they going to step up? But that hasn't happened in the playoffs when they need a big turnover, when they need to switch things around and get the ball back to Josh Allen. So it's like, do you bet on Lamar Jackson raising his level of play, or do you bet on the Buffalo supporting cast to finally step up?
Yeah, like, it feels like if you picked up Lamar Jackson, if you traded them together, right? Traded 1 for 1, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, hypothetically, like, and you put Josh Allen on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson on the Bills, like, we would universally take the Ravens there, right? With Josh Allen in theory, because of everything. Like, it feels like he's done more to elevate the level of play of the players in Buffalo than Lamar has done in Baltimore. And so, I don't know, it ends up feeling to me like it's such a quarterback driven thing that, like, if at the end of the day, Allen is the one who's been able to elevate, then I count on him to be the one to continue to elevate while we still kind of wait for Lamar Jackson to be able to put him over the top.
Unfortunately for those 2 guys, the answer is pick your favorite NFC quarterback. Now, if that's Jalen Hurts, if that's Matthew Stafford, they already have a ring. So if we're talking strictly about ringless quarterbacks, then maybe you have to move down the list. Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, maybe. The problem with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen is they have to play Lamar Allen and Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. It's so confusing. I'm combining their names. They're incredible football players. And so is Joe Burrow, and so is Patrick Mahomes, and so is Justin Herbert, and so too may CJ Stroud be in the future. Trevor Lawrence has that sort of potential. It is a gauntlet in the AFC. If you're Lamar Jackson and you beat Josh Allen, chances are you got to go play Patrick Mahomes. If you're Josh Allen and you beat Patrick Mahomes, chances are you got to go play Lamar Jackson. That sucks. That makes it really, really hard. You don't have to do that in the NFC. So if you're Dak Prescott, if you're Jordan Love, if you're Jared Goff, if you're Baker Mayfield, you probably have a better chance of getting your first ring this year than one of those guys. precisely because you have to go through those other teams to get there. And finally, Browns beat reporter Mary Kay Cabot earned the PFWA's Bill Nunn Award for her legendary coverage since 1991 and used her Hall of Fame moment to roast Bill Belichick, her first head coach on the beat. I was 28 at the time, she said. He just couldn't relate to a woman that old. Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, clearly didn't care for the comments, retweeting a post that said the joke didn't cause much of a laugh. I liked it. I thought it was pretty funny. When I heard it, I laughed. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, what's up with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs over at training camp in KC? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.